Good morning, guys. How's it going? I'm really excited about this video today. Before we begin though, I do want to apologize. We're a little bit late on this video. It was supposed to drop yesterday. However, a bunch of stuff came up and I don't know. Anyway, straight into it. M21. I have always been, I essentially always been, but recently I've been a really big fan of things like mono green, Gruul. At heart, I'm primarily a control player. However, over the last like 2 or 3 blocks, I've been really enjoying creature interaction more so. That includes also like maybe Rakdos, Jund, etc. With this particular list, it's very similar play style to what we were doing in Theros. However, with the availability of Scavenging Ooze in standard now, it's become just an absolute powerhouse. And then also special shout out to, I know Croaky's has a really super good Gruul list that I was torn between running this video about the Gruul list, which we did make minor tweaks to, or the mono green. And I went ahead and chose the mono green because I feel as though we're probably going to see quite a bit of Gruul on the ladder, and there's no real need to make a video on it because you're probably are going to see it all the time, whereas this is a little bit more of a spicy opportunity. I think the matchup is pretty solid. It's pretty 50-50 from the reps I've gotten in with my teammates. However, against things like Control, Bant, some of the other tier 1 lists that we're seeing right now, mono green is just an absolute powerhouse and destroys them. Gruul being one of the few that does kind of, the RNG gods kind of play a big role in it. Anyway, without further ado, let's kind of dive a little bit into the mechanics behind it. We do run things like Pelt Collector to help with our opening curve. Being able to turn 1 Pelty is just absolutely solid. That or Stonecoil Serpent. We have a couple plays available to us. Stonecoil is a little bit better for a turn 1 play if we are going up against some like the more Azorius or Esper, things that run 3 fairy. Barkhide Troll is a great 2-drop. Not only is it a 3/3, but it also can protect itself for some of the spot removal, allowing us to continue to apply that pressure and keep our opponent on the back foot. Paradise Druid is pretty much the only ramp that we're seeing in this deck. It serves as 2 purposes. It opens up the battlefield for a turn 3 questing beast, turn 3 Vivien. It adds that minor ramp ability in there, as well as, even more importantly, the fact that it has hexproof is actually really good for us because we're going up against a lot of decks like that run to fairy, both of them now. A lot of spot removal, a lot of like casualties of war, etc. Since we do have some mutate opportunities with things like Gemrazer and some juice abilities with Vivien, being able to apply things, have things get counters, the ability to have hexproof and stockpile a creature is just absolutely solid. We do come falter a little bit to things like extinction and board wipes and stuff like that, but that's neither here nor there. Scavenging Ooze, an absolute monster in this deck list. It has proven itself super good against all of the tier 1 decks that this list has gone against. Most importantly, things like Uro. I turn 2 Ooze. It kind of shuts off that turn 3 Uro, or excuse me, turn 2 if we're looking at a little bit of ramp. Because as soon as they play it, then you immediately exile it, and then you secure 3 points of damage because it gets a 1/1 counter and they have their Uro exiled. It's extremely good against Rakdos, Jund, because you can in response to the cat and remove it. So it's kind of like they're forced, as long as you have 1 mana open, they're kind of forced to just leave the cat in the bin, or else you just in response to take it. Woe Strider, Croxa, pretty much anything that plays out of the bin, scavenge you for 1 mana, you get rid of it, and then it gets juiced out. So it's just an incredible card. Downside is, can it be spot removed? Yes. Plus side to it is, with the amount of powerhouses we're seeing in this deck list, we're just kind of okay with that, because things like Questing Beast, Gemrazer, Yorvo, Pelt Collector, Stonecoil Serpent, we just so many absolute just powerhouses that just synergize really well with each other. Vivien being able to main board spot check creatures if we are going up against like a creature heavy deck, as well as juice our characters. Let's go ahead and take a look at the sideboard. Grafdigger's Cage, I went ahead and left it in there. Even though we have Ooze, maybe we're playing more of a consistent graveyard base. Ozolith, I actually started toying around with against like the Gruul or Control matchups that focus more so on spot removal and board wipes. It's actually been pretty good so far. Ran through for more like the Gruul mono green mirror matches. Sorcerous Spyglass or some of those Nissa, Yugen plays, stuff like that. Band together, just more tackling fuel for. I'm actually kind of tempted to trade band through with ram through. Excuse me, band together with ram through. However, I left the one copy in here in case we do go up against a deck that has bigger creatures than we have. I haven't really seen that happen very often, but I went ahead and just left a copy in there. Shifting Ceratops is just an absolute no-brainer. Anything that runs a lot of blue, it's just a house. Like, it just destroys. If you're up against mono blue, done. It's just a 4-turn clock at that point. So anyway, without further ado, let's go ahead and dive straight into a matchup. I chose this match with one of my teammates. It's not against a tier 1 deck list. While this deck does beat a lot of tier 1 deck lists, I chose this match for the video specifically because my teammate was running a really cool, spicy looking deck. And I also kind of wanted to showcase that. It's a Dimir mill that he's kind of working on at the moment. It's not quite there where we're trying to get it to, but it's a really fun and cool looking deck. So I wanted to showcase that in conjunction with this mono green. So I hope you guys enjoy. Alrighty, so I'm really excited about this matchup. I knew my teammate has been putting together a Dimir list, and I just knew that had something kind of spicy to it. I tried not to get a whole lot of information about it before going into the match to kind of help with my decision-making process. I didn't want to be too informative on like what his curve, what his plays are. It's something that we do want to figure out, obviously, for more like competitive play. But in this particular situation, I'm just working on my like react to contact type of thing. This opening hand is actually really good that we hit into this Pelt Collector. I was a little bit iffy on it. We had a subtle curve here with Paradise Druid, Barkhide into a Yorvo, which is always a good thing for us. He does hit us with the Thought Erase. I'm using this opportunity to also kind of see what he chooses, because based on what he chooses, it kind of makes me informed a little bit as to what's in his hand. Since I see black and blue there, I'm just automatically assuming he's got the extinction event, I believe is what it's called. So if he takes my Paradise Druid, it kind of shows that maybe he doesn't have it. If he leaves the Paradise Druid, maybe he wants me to go wide and spread my field out so that he can get more value out of his extinction. I don't know. There's a bunch of like little ins and outs. I could also just be overthinking it. Going into turn 3, I'm kind of looking at a Yorvo. I also kind of like the idea of Gemrazer, right? To blow up that enchantment that he's just played. So I go ahead and go that route. I don't know how much like firepower he's going to get with it. So I want to go ahead and put an end to it and stop his turn 3 play, as well as get in for 7 points of damage here, getting him down to 11 life. So my next play, I'm kind of looking at Castle Garenbrig into a potential Vivien. It's also based on what he plays. If he does tap out, that does look like a Vivien opportunity for us, because we do have 5 mana showing, and then we can get a steady flow of creatures out, because I'm assuming he's either going to board wipe and or spot check my Vivien. I don't think he could do both on the same turn, so it's kind of clearing my board state. But he's down to 1 card, and that's kind of informative here. I'm looking at I also lost my Vivien opportunity because he did take out Paradise Druid. So I go ahead and I'm torn. I'm like, okay, do I want to... It doesn't look like I can Castle Garenbrig for 6 mana for Stonecoil, so I think I like the idea of putting out Yorvo, which in itself is a pretty solid amount of pressure, especially if we draw into like a Gemrazer, which that could make him into an 8/8, punching in some serious amounts of damage. I go ahead and get rid of the Serpent here, because if I do hit the mana, then that Vivien becomes extremely powerful for us. I don't hit the mana, I just hit another Vivien, so I'm just like, oof. Okay, so now we just apply pressure here. He's obviously top decking as well. We're gonna go ahead and just hit him for 4, see where that kind of leads us. Hoping to hit this mana, because then we can get a steady flow of creatures out, as well as kind of force him to interact with more things on the battlefield than just creatures. So he does get another one of those enchantments, Teferi's Tutelage, which is a very, very strong card in this particular deck he's playing. And that's right, guys, you do see Disinformation Campaign. I don't know if I mentioned that or not, but I saw that come out and I was like, oh, where's Big Teferi? Are we in the Dominaria days, or what is happening here? So we do get our Vivien out, we get our 3/3, and it looks like it should be game, right? We don't see any white mana, so there's no like planar cleansing we're worried about. Even if he board wipes, we still get 3/3s to apply pressure. We may not be able to swing. We do know that we're not going into a questing beast right now, but I mean, who knows? If we pull this man off the top, and there's something at the bottom, then we can full send. So this particular matchup, I don't know how I like the sideboard here. He does run, like looking back at his plays, he does run a lot of black mana and a lot of black like destroy target creature cards. So I don't know if Shifting Ceratops is actually the answer. We didn't come across much counter magic, so I think he just becomes a 5/4 body, and I don't know if he provides, you know, substance. We go ahead and put our Ozolith in there because anytime we have like a lot of destroy target creatures, a lot of board wipes, I do think that could be very beneficial for Ozolith and stacking counters on it, especially since a lot of our creatures do generate counters. It could be very beneficial. I don't like the idea of ram through. I went ahead and put the Ceratops in there. I'm on the fence about it. It could be good. I don't know. A 5/4 is still a 5/4, and then if we're on turn 5 and giving it trample, or excuse me, haste, is also just absolutely good. So we went go ahead and put it in there, and we're gonna see how this kind of pans out. I don't remember if I put the Spyglasses in there. Spyglass wouldn't be a terrible option. We didn't see any like real walkers yet that we're super worried about, but we also could be susceptible to things like Liliana. Narset wouldn't hurt us too terribly, as our draw power is like more manageable. We could just do it during their turn. We'll kind of see. We do pull into the Ceratops. Anytime you see your sideboard card is always a good day. Go ahead and get our turn 1 coil out. I'm kind of hoping to hit a mana now. We're on the draw. Usually when you're on the draw, a 2-mana keep with a subtle curve like Serpent and Yorvo is not a terrible option, because then you're getting 1, 2, 3 looks before you're starting to miss mana drops. So I don't know. In the deck where your curve is pretty much capped at 4, I guess 5 for Vivien, it's not really a super bad situation to be in. Normal. I say that now, but come tournament time, that's when we're gonna hit like 2 mana, and then turn 6 is when we get our 3rd. All right, so we're kind of like seeing what he has in his hand. If he does things like removing Ceratops, that kind of tells us that maybe he has some blue interaction. He goes ahead and gets rid of Questing Beast. I think that's more of a I don't want to have to deal with it type of situation. It does intrigue me that he did leave the Yorvo out. Maybe I think he has a Planeswalker then for him to take Questing Beast, because Yorvo is also a 4/4, so it's still technically doing the same damage. Difference being, at least the major difference here, is Questing Beast also pings his potential Planeswalker, so that's something to be cognizant of. We're gonna go ahead and get out Pelt Collector. Ooh, it gets countered, so we're seeing Drown in the Lock, another spicy card. All right, so we still have not gotten our mana. We're just 2 mana people now. This is how we choose to live our life. There's my suspicion. He does have a Liliana. It is a Planeswalker that we do have to be kind of worried about. We go ahead and get our Scavenging Ooze out. I mean, it's a play. It gives a little bit of pressure. If he does uptick Liliana, maybe we can kill it. We do have things in the graveyard to help fuel it. Hoping to hit the 3rd mana. If we do, then I think we're supposed to Gemrazer and plug in for 4 and apply that pressure. Also try and get out of range of some of these other like spot removals he might have, especially if he runs like Dead Weight or something. Aether Gust. We're gonna go ahead and put that at the bottom of our library. We need mana right now. That's a little bit of a iffy. I mean, if we do hit our 3rd, right, we do get Yorvo out. There we go. We got it. So we have Yorvo. And we have 2 Gemrazers in hand. Ooh. Sure. Go ahead and get hit with the cancel. Teferi. All right. The new Teferi too. Like I said, guys, this is why I chose this matchup to be showcased in this video today, because Dimir, I mean, it's not quite there yet for like a tier 1, like we're gonna go win some tournaments kind of deck, but it's pretty spicy, and you get to use the new cool looking Liliana and the really cool looking Teferi, so I had to showcase this matchup. So we go ahead and jam Shifting Ceratops, and one of the reasons behind this decision is also because that keeps Teferi from being able to phase him out, so then we're able to just kill something essentially. All right, so we got his tutelage out. Gonna force us to mill too. Sure. We'll go ahead and discard one of our Gemrazers. I think we want bodies now, right? So I'm torn here a little bit. I would like to blow up the tutelage by, you know, mutating Gemrazer, but I actually kind of think we just want another body. So I might just cast Gemrazer as a creature and go ahead and just let him mill me, because I think the race is on now. He's focused heavily on his top deck. I mean, we are too, to be honest. We have no draw power, but we're also going to have a 5/4 and a 4/4 on the battlefield. So we're going to go ahead and target the fairy here. We're going to go ahead and mill 2 more. He's trying to get just a little bit more value out of him. Luckily, he went ahead and pulled one of those mana off the top of our library for us. And yeah, we're just going to go for another body. Because that way, if he does draw into like maybe a spot removal, then we still have some threat on the battlefield instead of mutating. And, I mean, sure, go ahead and take the top 2 cards off our library. I guess now 4 cards off the top of our library. We have 38 right now. So we're on what, a 7 or 8 mana or clock at the moment. Sorry, my mathicals is a little bit rough this morning, but that's a plethora of time. I mean, we're presenting 9, so I think we have, whether he's on what, a 2-turn clock, unless he deals with both of my creatures, or at least one of them. So he hits another one of our Ceratops. He gets our Ooze. Sure. I assume he phases Gemrazer, right? Ooh, that's true. I guess he can just keep deferring me, so that does shorten my clock quite a bit. But I'm looking at my my graveyard at the moment, and oof, bye Ceratops. But he gets rid of his Liliana. So Scavenging Ooze, here's going to be a really spicy one for us. So I assume he's going to Teferi. He can't -3, right? Because then he would just kill his Teferi anyway. I think he's going to +1, force me to bin 4. And since we got his Walker off the battlefield, we're going to go ahead and cast Scavenging Ooze, which is going to be an absolute powerhouse now that he's fueled like my graveyard, which my library is full of creatures. So we're about to get really juiced out here. I do subtly punt, I think. I think I was supposed to tap Castle Garenbrig and get 6 mana, play Scavenging Ooze, and then get more value out of that. Because now I'm just soaking up 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, I would have gotten one more +1/+1 counter had I just done it during my turn. Although I guess we are a little bit more mindful, I guess. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and do that. And I mean, we have a plethora of creatures in hand or in our graveyard. So the question is, do I want to bother playing Pelt Collector, or do I want to just juice out Scavenging Ooze? I go ahead and present him to see if he interacts with him at all. It goes to damage phase. So I'm going to go ahead and Castle Garenbrig now. Because I saw the punt like after I did it. I was like, oh, I was supposed to Castle Garenbrig. So we're just going to go ahead and just absolutely juice out Scavenging Ooze. Look at this value, by the way, guys. This is why at the beginning of the video, I was saying Scavenging Ooze is just good across every type of like aggro, not even aggro based, even things like Bant, Soul Tie, stuff like that are even running Scavenging Ooze at the moment. I feel like it's just a good main board for pretty much any matchup. I can't really think of any matchups that it's just bad in. So I guess you could even argue something like maybe deadweight utilizations or something like that against the Lurrus, but like playing Lurrus, you're gonna want Scavenging Ooze in there because it just takes out the graveyard and you just kind of roll the dice on those deadweights. All right, so yeah, and then by the swinging phase, he's in 11-11. Sure. I think no matter what he hits, I think we just win. Yep, there's Liliana. Oh, we can actually kill Liliana or Ooze now. And there's our deal breaker right there. There's the seal of the deal. Mr. Questerson. And that's going to be GG. Because he has one card in hand. I don't think he flashed anything that killed both of them. GG, you Quinn. Shout out to you, Quinn, my teammate. Alrighty, guys, that brings us to the end of our video. I truly hope you enjoyed it. I appreciate your time, the time you took to come and watch it. If you enjoyed it, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button and take a look at the rest of the series. I know we're trying to do this every week, preferably on Monday mornings is when I try and drop these videos. I choose a deck of the week, which one's the most spicy, which is the most successful, and what's the most fun to play. And then we go ahead and post it. If you haven't already, make sure you follow me on all of my social medias at Kevin Raisins on Twitter, Scottoria on Twitch, and in my Discord server at discord.gg/US Army Esports, as well as discord.gg/The Kill Squad. I know that's a mouthful of words, but it's all down below in the description. You can just click on the link and it'll take you straight there. Appreciate your time, and I'll see you again next week.